Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 4, The Appearance of Sri Narada. Text 1. Vyasa Uvacha Iti Bruvanam Samstuya Muninam Dirghasatrinam Vruddha Kulapati Sutam Vaprucha Sonako Bravit.
Vasudev said, on hearing Sutta Goswami speak thus, Sanukha Muni, who was the elderly learned leader of all the rishis, engaged in that prolonged sacrificial ceremony, congratulated Sutta Goswami by addressing him as follows.
Text 2. Shonaka Uvacha Sutta Sutta Mahabhaga Vadano Vadatam Vara Katham Bhagavatam Punyam Yadaha Bhagavan Chukaha.
Sanukha said, O Sutta Goswami, you are the most fortunate and respected of all those who can speak and recite. Please relate the pious message of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was spoken by the great and powerful sage Sukadev Goswami.
Text 3. Kasmin yuge pavritteyam stani vakina hetuna kota sanchodita krishnaha krutavan samhitam munihi.
In what period and at what place was this first begun, and why was this taken up? From where did Krishna Dvaipayana Vaishva, the great sage, get the inspiration to compile this literature?
Text 4. Tasya putro mahayogi samadrin nirvikalpakaha ekantamatirunnidro guru muda iveyate.
His, Vasudeva's son, was a great devotee, an equibalanced monist whose mind was always concentrated in monism. He was transcendental to mundane activities, but being he appeared like an ignorant person.
Text 5. Drishtva nuyantam rishim atmajam pi anatnam devyo hriya paritadurna sutasya chitram tadvikshya prachati munau jagadu stavasti stripum vidana tu sutasya vivikta drishtahe.
While Sri Vasudev was following his son, beautiful young damsels who were bathing naked covered their bodies with cloth. Although Sri Vasudev himself was not naked, but they had not done so when his son had passed. The sage inquired about this, and the young ladies replied that his son was purified, and when looking at them, made no distinction between male and female, but the sage made such distinctions.
Text 6. Katham alaksitam porehi samprata kurujang galan unmata mukka jadavad vicharan gaja savaye.
How was he, Srila Sukadev, the son of Vaishya, recognized by the citizens when he entered the city of Hastinapur, now Delhi, after wandering in the provinces of Kuru and Jungala, appearing like a madman, dumb and retarded?
Text 7. Katham va panda veyasyam rajashir munina saha sambada samabuttata yatraisa satvati strutihi.
How did it so happen that King Parikshit met this great sage, making it possible for this great transcendental essence of the Vedas, Bhagavatam, to be sung to him?
1:4:15.
Text 8. Sagodohanamatram hi Greshu Graha Medinam Avekshate Mahabhagas Tirthi Kurvam Stadashraman.
He, Sukadev Goswami, was accustomed to stay at the door of a householder only long enough for a cow to be milked, and he did this just to sanctify the residence.
Text 9. Abhimanyu Satam Sutta Prahur Bhagwa Totamam Tasya Janma Mahascharyam Karmani Chagrinihi Naha.
It is said that Maharaj Parikshit is a great first-class devotee of the Lord, and that his birth and activities are all wonderful. Please tell us about him.
Text 10. Sa samrat kasya vahitoho Pandunama Navardanaha Prayopavisto Gangayam Anadritya Diratshriyam.
He was a great emperor and possessed all the opulences of his acquired kingdom. He was so exalted that he was increasing the prestige of the Pandu dynasty and fast until death.
Text 11. Namanti yat padaniketam atmanaha Shivaya haniya danani shatravaha tatam savira shriyam angadushta yajam yuvaisha tos srastum aho sahasubihi.
He was such a great emperor that all his enemies would come down and bow down at his feet and surrender all their wealth for their own benefit. He was full of youth and strength, and he possessed kingly opulences that were difficult to give up. Why did he want to give up everything, including his life?
Text 12. Shivaya lokasya bhavaya bhutaye ya uttam shloka paraya na janaha jivanti natmartham asau parasyaram mumucha nirvedya kuta kalevaram.
Those who are devoted to the cause of the personality of Godhead live only for the welfare, development, and happiness of others. They do not live for any selfish interest. So even though the Emperor Parikshit was free from all attachment to worldly possessions, how could he give up his mortal body, which was the shelter for others?
Text 13. Tat sarvam na samachaksva pristo yad iha kinchana manyatvam vishaye vacham snatam anyatra chandasat.
We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects, except some portions of the Vedas, and thus you can clearly explain the answers to all the questions we have just put to you.
Text 14. Sutta uvacha dvapare samanuprapte tritye yuga paryaye jata parasharat yogi Vasapyam kalaya harehe.
Sutta Goswami said, when the second millennium overlapped the third, the great sage Vasudeva was born to Parashara in the womb of Satyavati, the daughter of Vasu.
Text 15. Sakadachit sarasvatya upasprusya jalam suchihi Vivikta ekasina udite ravi mandale.
Once upon a time, he, Vasudeva, as the sun rose, took his morning ablution in the waters of the Saraswati and sat alone to concentrate.
Text 16. Paravaraganya sarshi kalena vyaktaram hasa yoga dharma vyatikaram praptam bhuvi yuge yuge.
The great sage Vasudeva saw anomalies in the duties of the millennium. This happens on the earth in different ages due to the unseen force of time.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mataji and Prabhu.
Please forgive for any mistakes.
Very nice recitation and very nice reading. Thank you so much. Inspiring. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna and Prabhu. Thank you so much. I'll share the screen once again and we will discuss the verse for the day. Okay, so the verse today we're going to discuss is verse number 15, chapter 4, canto 1. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavade Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. So verse goes like this. Sa kadachit saraswatya upasprisya jalam shuchihi viktayeka asina udite ravimandale. Sa kadachit saraswatya upasprisya jalam shuchihi viktayeka asina udite ravimandale. Word for word. Sah, he, kadachit, once, Saraswatyaha, on the bank of the Saraswati, upasprisya, after finishing morning ablutions, jalam, water, shuchihi, being purified, vivikte, concentration, ekaha, alone, asinaha, being thus seated, udite, on the rise, Ravi Mandale, of the sun disk. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada. Translation. Once upon a time, he, Vyasadeva, as the sun rose, took his morning ablutions in the waters of the Saraswati and sat alone to concentrate. Purport. The river Saraswati is flowing in the Badrika Ashram area of the Himalayas. So the place indicated here is Samyaprasa in Badrika Ashram, where Sri Vyasadeva is residing. Hare Krishna. It's a very short for today. We'll try our best to discuss this. We'll just chant our Mangalacharan prayers first. Om Ajnanathimirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamarupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Nuvaisnavamsa. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Auravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Hey Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam panghum langayate girim yatkripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam. short Mangala Sevan. We have 2 lines in the purport. We'll recite the verse once again. Sa kadachit saraswatya upasprisya jalam shuchihi vivikta eka asina udite ravi mandale. Once upon a time, he, Vyasadeva, as the sun rose, took his morning ablutions in the waters of the Saraswati and sat alone to concentrate. Purport: the river Saraswati is flowing in the Badrikashram area of the Himalayas. So the place indicated here is Samyak Prasa in Badrikashram, where Sri Vyasadeva is residing. So in the beginning 13 verses, Shaunaka Rishi has asked a number of questions to Sutta Goswami about the background of Srimad Bhagavatam. As Sutta Goswami announced in the last verse of the previous chapter that he would like to speak about or recite Srimad Bhagavatam, that created ecstasy amongst the sages who were sitting and listening to Sutta Goswami. And Shaunaka Rishi, who was the representative of the audience, asked these wonderful questions. And yesterday we started the first verse, number 14, where Sutta Goswami starts to speak and gives a little background of the author of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva. As to who the Vyasadeva was, we have already read in the previous chapter. He was an incarnation of the Lord, as a Saptavesh avatar of Krishna. And yesterday Manu Prabhu discussed about the history and how he appeared, and lots of other qualification we heard of Srila Vyasadeva. And now the scene is being set, the author is being introduced, and now Sutta Goswami is in this verse, what we're seeing is again providing the background as to how it all happened. And the first verse in that context is this verse. So I was thinking there is actually in Srimad Bhagavatam, every verse is like nectar. There is so much to discuss and so much to learn. So many instructions in every verse. First time when I saw this verse, okay, this is the verse I have to speak about, I saw the purport, I was a little bit perplexed as to what can I speak, because not a lot of information is there about the particular place. Yes, we know Badrikashram is a holy place, and Vyasadeva resides there. And who else resides there? Does anyone know? Would like to share? What is the relevance of Badrika Ashram?
Uddhava?
It's Naranayan, Rishi.
Yes. And so does anyone know in the 11th canto, Krishna gives some instructions to Uddhav. So it's also called Uddhav Gita. Does anyone know about what happened there?
Because before, sorry to interrupt.
Please.
Before Krishna was going away to the spiritual world, and as Uddhava was the most, intimate associate of Krishna, of course he was feeling devastated. Not the way we feel when somebody depart, but their relation was so close. So Uddhava was very, very sad, so he was asking Krishna, well, what shall I do? Because Krishna, whatever Krishna was doing, he was just with Krishna 24 hours. And so then Krishna instructed Uddhava that you have to stay here to give this knowledge. So just take this paduka, which is the sandals of Krishna, then go to Badrika Ashram and go and learn from there and then preach. So that's why Uddhava did. That's what he was following the instruction. of Krishna. That's why he was. I think on the way he was also met Vidura when
Yes.
Vidura was having his pilgrimage, because he didn't want to be in the war. So then also Vidura also asked question to Uddhava, but Uddhava said, "I'm not the person who could give you all this information." I think it was, who was that? He's more qualified.
Maitreya.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's more qualified to give you the information. So I'm going to the Badrikashram. So then he left Vidura and went towards Badrikashram to see there Nadanara and she was there. And that's why he did. That's
Yes.
what I can do. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you so much, Mataji. Yes. So Uddhav, as Mataji was explaining, was always with Krishna. He would never leave Krishna for a moment. Even as a child, it is said that he would always play with Krishna's dolls. He would wear Krishna's clothes, old clothes. He would always be in that mood. And he used to even look like Krishna. So Krishna sent Uddhav to Vrindavan as well, so that as a messenger to take Krishna's message to Vrindavan. He also obviously wanted Uddhav to understand the pure love of the gopis for Krishna. Uddhav could not have survived without Krishna. So Krishna decided to wind up his pastimes. Uddhav was, he realized that that's what's going to happen. And there was no way Uddhav could have lived a single day without Krishna's association. But Krishna, realizing that, he had something that he wanted to achieve. Krishna, during his pastimes on this planet, he traveled across so many other places, he visited. But the one place he wanted to visit, but he couldn't, was Badrika, and he wanted to give his darshan to the rishis there. And even Krishna was, he even went to Mahavishnu to give his darshan. But since he was not able to visit Badrika, he wanted Uddhav to go there because Uddhav was the perfect representative of Sri Krishna, and to always to give them the teachings. And as Mataji was saying, on the way he met Vidura, and Vidura, on inquiry by Vidur, Uddhav suggested that he asked those questions to Maitreya because it was specifically mentioned by Krishna that the knowledge was given to Maitreya by Krishna himself, and he actually even named Vidura. So that's separate, slightly different pastime, but very beautiful. We can just keep talking about even Bhagavatam, so much nectar there. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of, how do you say, some churning here. So before I say what I was thinking to discuss about this verse, would anyone else like to say, like, what are the key points that we can take from this verse? When in any, there will be some instruction in any Bhagavatam verse. So do we see any instructions here that we are able to find? I will try then. Okay, so what we are seeing here is Srila Vyasadeva, as the sun rose. The first thing is, as the sun rose, he took his morning ablutions in the water of Saraswati. So the first instruction that I see from this verse is at what time we should be doing our morning ablutions. So it should be the sun rose. Ablutions, there are either bathing or it's also said achman or sipping of water. Both are true. So, or touching the water like that. So Yeah, to mute some deities. Sorry about that. Yeah, so the first instruction for us sadhakas is at what time we should be rising up and what activities we should be, when we should be doing. It is said that, actually we can even discuss that in detail, that we should never sleep after sunrise or at the time of sunrise or at the time of even sunset, obviously unless we are sick. There's a detailed, Bhagavatam has so much, knowledge and nectar and everything in there. Pastimes. In one pastime, Kashyapa Rishi gives lots of instruction to Diti. So when Diti's two sons, and anyone would like to say who were the two sons of Diti? Like that, she had many sons, but the particular two sons who.
Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyakashipu.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, so those two sons were killed, and there were other losses as well as we go on. See, somewhere in the 6th canto, this story appears that Diti then desires to have a child who will kill Indra, and in that desire, she serves her husband Kashyapa with all her heart, and one day, being pleased with her service, Kashyapa asked her what she would like to receive, and then she says, I want to have a child who will kill Indra. Obviously, Kashyapa was not very happy to hear that, but since he had given his words, Kashyapa provides a particular process that she can follow to have a child who will be so powerful. The process was mainly performing devotional services unto Lord Krishna or Vishnu. So in that explanation of process, there are so many instructions given. Not sure if you can do all those instructions in this, but some of those were like this, as I said before, never sleep at the time of sunrise or at the time of sunset. Never put your head in the west or north, never pointing head towards west or north when sleeping. There were so many, and also one of the instruction where was also that she should always clean herself before going to sleep, like wash her hands after eating and hands and mouth, and wash her feet before going to bed, like that. So at one stage, what happened is, Titi was always busy serving her husband, and one time in that, this always happens at home, sometimes we get so busy. So she was so busy, and by mistake, she forgot to wash her hands and mouth, and she just went to sleep. So this point here about Shuchi, we're discussing is being purified. So Shuchi is morning ablutions of bathing or sitting or achman, all those go in that purification process. And we discuss more about this Shuchi and purification. But because she missed that one time, Indra, sorry, I forgot to mention, Indra in the meantime, he got to know that this is what has happened, and Diti is planning to have a progeny or a son who would kill Indra. Indra was always, observing Diti and trying to see if she makes a mistake, and whether he gets an opportunity to kill that child who would be in the womb. So on that particular occasion, when Diti was not clean externally and she went to bed, Indra took an opportunity. So Indra also has the Ashtasiddhis, so one of the Ashtasiddhis, Anima, becoming smaller of the smallest, so he could enter into Diti's womb. And the story goes like that. We'll distract a little bit just to complete it. So he actually entered into the womb, and he found the fetus, and he actually slit that baby into 7 to kill. But what happened is, because Diti was was serving Lord Vishnu and performing devotional service to Vishnu, she was, the child was protected. And what happened is, the one became 7. So the 7, when Indra slit into 7, there were 7 children there. But then Indra was a little bit confused. He did further, like each of the 7, then again slit into 7. But then again they become 49, and they became Maruts, and the story goes on like that. Diti was protected, but the point that we were saying is, sometimes it is observed that the cleanliness, the Shuchi, is so important that particularly in certain processes in the Vedic in lifestyle, that it can actually have negative impact if we don't have the Shuchi or don't have the clean mind and body. And mind comes later, and definitely external. And it is also said that all the bhutas, pisachas, all those hosts and all those types of characters also find such unclean places or unclean bodies, and they can create some disturbances. So the Suchi aspect for us devotees is, what do we do before the sunrise? Is Brahma Muhurat is hour and 14 minutes before the sunrise. We actually rise even before the sunrise, and we take our bath, and we chant our rounds. The morning round Brahma Muhurat chanting is the best, recommended by the Acharyas, and definitely because it is a time of mode of goodness, and everything becomes easier because the body has taken enough rest, and we have cleansed ourselves, and taken a good shower or bath, and then we sit down for our salvation. So it is very important to do that cleansing part of the body before we start any spiritual practice. That's one instruction I'm seeing here. Any other instruction that you can see? Sorry, not to put you on the spot, but if you, just in case, if you can think of something. I'll pause for 30 seconds. Okay, so the second one, yes, please.
Sorry, Valerie. I just thought of the time. I mean, it did mention about getting up in the morning and cleaning ourselves and do all our japa. Also, I understand that Vasudev is also contemplating. He had something in his mind,
Very nice.
and that was the time when your concentration, or you can actually that's why the early in the morning is so important.
Yes.
That our mind is not disturbed at that time.
Yes.
So that's why he was trying to contemplate what to do next.
Very nice.
I think maybe that's also one of them.
Very good. Thank you so much. He was contemplating. Says he's a rishi, and he's Satya's avatar of Krishna. So he's contemplating.
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
And what does a sadhu contemplate? What does a great soul contemplate? We'll discuss it. I mean, actually, I have another reference verse. In terms of instruction, is also there is a concept of he is alone. He's sitting alone, sat alone to concentrate. The two things is sitting alone and concentrate are the two aspects of it. Vivikta is concentration also, it is said, like secluded place. So he was at a secluded place and he was alone. And he was, as Mataji said, he was concentrating. He was contemplating. He could see what's coming up, because the sages, they always want to do good to everyone. And to have that kind of thought process, he performs, the tapasya, austerity. Austerity is also like in the morning ablutions in the waters. Badrika is at the top of Himalayas, and the other aspect is like Saraswati. Saraswati is the goddess of knowledge. And this is Vyasadeva, and who is going to put all the knowledge in the scriptures. He will compile, he has compiled all the Vedas, all the Puranas, Upanishads, all the Vedic scriptures for the people of Kali Yuga. And he's there. So there are so many beautiful settings here. So he's at the Saraswati begins there. That's where he starts. And the river, it is lost at the moment. I think it's still probably there in Prayagraj. And there's the Triveni, which is the confluence of three rivers, Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati there. A lot of people go there to take a day. So he sat alone. So to perform sometimes for us also, it is instructive, I was thinking, that we sit alone in a secluded place. But obviously there are some conditions apply with people, with our, state of mind and our conditioning. Certain conditions apply as to, whether or not we can sit alone. What does actually sitting alone means for devotee? We'll discuss that. And then the other thing, what Palika Madhuri said is about concentrate, which is also like focusing, or this is purification in a way, the purification of the body and the mind as well. So when we concentrate, we have to perform some austerity, because what does Krishna say about austerity of mind? We will discuss that in the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So we get three things that we can, get out of here, and we can discuss and churn, and we can, do some more discussion or study ourselves. So this is a technique that some of the devotee taught me, that this is how we can actually, every verse, if we spend some time, if we have the sincere desire to learn, and somehow Krishna inspires within the heart, so that we actually can get so much nectar, so much instruction, or some aspect of the bhakti will be there in every verse. So today's verse, we discussed a little bit about the austerities, because it is austere. It is a type of austerity to take a morning bath in the cold water. This is the top of Himalayas, Badrika ashram, and this is a river which is coming from the top. It's almost like ice water coming down. This cold water ablutions. Srila Prabhupada used to always take cold water bath. I'm not saying anything what we should be doing. Very hard for us, but this is how the great devotee used to do. So there is the point is, there is some element of austerity there to be performed in the morning ablutions. And the other thing is the place. The place is also great. The place is Badrika, it's a holy place, and also the bank of Saraswati. Again, Saraswati is a holy river. So again, sitting. So there is time, place, and circumstance. This time is morning. The place is a holy place, and the circumstance is being contemplated by Srila Vyasadeva. So we'll discuss a little about the importance of suchi, which could be a few things. Also, purification of the body. Also, a pure place, a secluded place like Badrika is. So in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Suchodeshe Pratisthapya Thiram Athanam Atmanah Natu Chittam Natu Nicham Chaila Janakushottaram Taitre Ekagramana Kritva Yata Chittendriya Kriya Pavishwasane Yujja Yogam Atma Vishuddhi. Translation. It says, very interesting. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place. So the Sucho Kshetre, Shtodeshe, in the sanctified or clean or purified place, one should set the asana. Yeah. And what is nice is the purport. Would anyone like to read this purport? No one?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Ravi Prabhu?
Dhanavad Pranam.
Hello. Hi, Ravi Prabhu. Thank you so much. Please.
Sacred place refers to places of pilgrimage. In India, the yogis, the transcendentals, or the devotees all leave home and reside in sacred places such as Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, Rishikesh, and Haridwar, and in solitude practice yoga where the sacred rivers like the Yamuna and the Ganges flow. But often this is not possible, especially for Westerners. The so-called yoga societies in in cities may be successful in earning material benefit, but they are not at all suitable for the actual practice of yoga. One who is not self-controlled and whose mind is not undisturbed cannot practice meditation. Therefore, in the Brahmaradya Purana, it is said that in Kali Yuga, the present yuga or age, when people in general are short-lived, slow in spiritual realization, and always disturbed by various anxieties, the best means of spiritual realization is chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gatiranyata. In the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. This is how Srila Prabhupada's beautiful purpose help us. In this time, so it's one thing, can we go and sit alone? Can we go to secluded place? Yes, we can go to the holy places. And Prayag, Mathura, Prabhupada says that all in India, yogis or the devotees all leave home and they reside at these holy places. But where we are, Prabhupada has opened a temple, created a holy place practically everywhere in the world. So we have our holy places here, Bhaktivedanta Dham and Radha Landaneshwar temples right in London for us to take that advantage. The other thing is for secluded, so we can't do that because our conditioning is not going to allow us. Probably we will end up in a big mess. We went in a secluded place at our state. Maybe some can go, I don't know. Then some may be more advanced. But in general, what is recommended for us, even when we go to the holy places, it is recommended that we go with the senior devotees or go under the direction of a spiritual master, and then we hear the pastimes and we spend some time there. But the importance of sacred place is definitely there, and for us, who are short-lived, Kalpana, yes, short-lived, slow in spiritual realization, manda sambandhamapayo, manda bhagya uparita, always disturbed. For us, the easiest is Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Kevalam, Kalanasteva. So this is the instruction that we have, and this obviously there's going to be difference between great souls, what they can achieve, and what we as sadhakas, how we can follow those instructions in our lives, and what is best for us. Then the other aspect of it that we were thinking is the amount of austerity that we have to perform. How can that be best done? So I was thinking there are verses, beautiful verses in Bhagavad Gita could be very good for us. Actually, this is a place, again, austerity of body. Deva Vijay Guru Pradna Pujanam Shauchamarjavam Brahmacharyam Ahimsacha Shariram Tapochyate. Austerity of the body consists in worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master, and the superiors like the father and mother. And cleanliness comes again. Cleanliness is austerity of the body. Simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence. Yeah. So it's a short verse. Short purport. Anyone would like to read, or I can.
Can I read, Prabhu?
Yeah, please.
The Supreme Godhead here explains the different kinds of austerity and penance. First, he explains the austerities and penances practiced by the body. One should offer or learn to offer respect to God or to the demigods, the perfect qualified Brahmins, and the spiritual master and superiors like father, mother, and any person who is conversant with Vedic knowledge. This should be given proper respect. One should practice cleansing oneself externally and internally, and he should learn to become simple in behavior. He should not do anything which is not sanctioned by the scriptural injunctions. He should not indulge in sex outside of married life, for sex is sanctioned in the scripture only in marriage, not otherwise. This is called celibacy. These are penances and austerities as far as the body is concerned. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So it is actually austerity to worship the deities, the brahmanas, the spiritual masters, superiors like father and mother. In our culture, like it used to be like at least every day, more prevalent in North India and some other places as well, I think, where the children would every morning they would bow down to the parents, father and mother. In fact, every time they meet, I know some family, every time they meet, they bow down. Every time they meet, bow down. They're like, that's a lot to be happening at home. But that culture was there. It is austerity, and more so in today's day and time when we don't do so many things. And again, cleanliness, Prabhupada has so many beautiful parts, and that he was, speaking one time about when he first came to know how often people take a shower bath in the Western world. Some of his disciples, like early disciples at the time when he was started the movement, said some would take once in a week, once every Friday or something, once maybe in a fortnight, like that. But that is austerity. So taking shower is austerity. But we're supposed to take at least 2 showers, at least 3, maybe sometimes someone is Brahman initiated, and one in the morning, one in the evening. And so those simplicity, that cleanliness is required. That's the body cleanliness. And the next verse is also nice. Austerity of speech, anudvega karam vakyam satyam priyahitam chaya swadhyaya abhyasanam chayva vangmayam tapauchyate. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. Now, as Palika Mataji said, what's happening, Vyasadeva is contemplating, he's thinking, and he's concentrating, and he's going to write. He's going to speaking or writing is the same. Or what is he going to write? Because he is now concerned of people of Kali Yuga, who are short-lived, who are always disturbed, who are less intelligent and less fortunate, and all those less, everything less. And he's being a saintly person, he's going to write. So this is the austerities they perform, and this is the instruction from Krishna as well as to how we should be speaking, always truthful, always pleasing, always beneficial to others, not agitating to others, and also regularly reciting with the literature. These are the moment writing the literature. So purport. Anyone else would like to read purport now? This one?
I can read it.
Yes, please.
One should not speak in such a way as to agitate the mind of others. Of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students, but such a teacher should not speak to those who are not his students if he will agitate their minds. This is penance as far as talking is concerned. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense. The process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by the scriptures. One should at once quote from the scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. At the same time, such talk should be very pleasurable to the ear. By such discussions, one may derive the highest benefit and elevate human society. There is a limitless stock of Vedic literature, and one should study this. This is called penance of speech. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is the penance for us, austerity for what we speak or what we read. So this is nice. So it should always be pleasing to others. Yeah. And the next one is the last one. Mana prasada saumyatvam maunam atma vinigraha bhavasam sudhe iti tapo manasamuchyate. Translation. And satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are the austerities of the mind. Purport, anyone would like to read it?
Can I read it, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
To make the mind austere is to detach it from sense gratification. It should be so trained that it can be always thinking of doing good for others. The best training for the mind is gravity in thought. One should not divert from Krishna consciousness and must always avoid sense gratification. To purify one's nature is to become Krishna conscious. Satisfaction of the mind can be obtained only by taking the mind away from thoughts of sense enjoyment. The more we think the sense enjoyment, the more the mind becomes dissatisfied. In the present age, we unnecessarily engage the mind in so many different ways for sense gratification, and so there is no possibility of the minds becoming satisfied. The best course is to divert the mind to the Vedic literature, which is full of satisfying stories. As in the Puranas and the Mahabharata, one can take advantage of this knowledge and
Thus become purified.
and must always avoid sense thus become purified. The mind should be devoid of duplicity, and one should think of the welfare of all. Silence means that one is always thinking of self-realization. The person in Krishna consciousness observes perfect silence in this sense. Control of the mind means detaching the mind from sense enjoyment. One should be straightforward in his dealing and thereby purify his existence. All these qualities together constitute austerity in mental activities. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, so that's our concentration. So Vyasadeva is concentrating, as we said that before. And that is for us, it's austerity to be able to concentrate. It's like control of mind. But Srila Prabhupada gives us the right direction of how we can train our mind in gravity, in thought, what we should be thinking about, and one should not deviate from Krishna consciousness and must always avoid sense gratification. The mind, for us, if you're sitting in secluded place and we're not in association with devotees, at least for me, all I can say is just indulgence and gratification. What can I eat? Where can I find food like that? So, what is suggested is obviously to, in the association of devotees, and we control the mind by reading of the scriptures, and so many has been written by Srila Prabhupada himself. So much in there. So this is what I was thinking. We can take away from this verse, and obviously residing in the holy places is also suggested as one of the main devotional service that we perform. And so if there's anything we can discuss, maybe. But also, like we were discussing about, sometimes we have heard like it is sometimes not possible. For example, we are in a train. It used to happen in the past, or we are it's not feasible to take a bath, then there's a mantra that we recite: Om Apavitra Pavitra Va Sarvastam Gatopi Va Yasmaret Pundarikaksham Sadhaya Abhyantara Shuchihi. So Om Pavitra Apavitra Va. So whether someone is pure or impure, and it's just by remembering Krishna, yeah. Yes, Marit Pundarikaksham, by remembering Krishna's name, Pundarikaksha, his eyes, lotus like eyes. And then with that, just remembrance of Krishna can clean someone externally as well as internally. It's very famous verse, Srila Prabhupada quotes number of times, number of places. Om Apavitra Pavitra Va, with the Omkara. Yeah. Sarva Astam Gatopi Va, in whatever condition we are, when someone is remembering Krishna, his cleanliness happens automatically. So, another thing, obviously, we said is secluded for us. No seclusion. For us is always to be in association of devotees, and from whom or with whom we can discuss Krishna Katha, and then don't indulge in the sense gratification thoughts. And there are a number of verses in Nectar Instruction about glorify so many verses. Radha Kund is the best place to recite Mathura, it goes on like that. So, and there's also instruction about the other thing I was thinking is also when we say association of devotees, and also it means that when we say secluded or maybe alone, is also when we are outside in the world with the non-devotees, then it is better to be alone, in a sense, don't take association. So this is nectar instruction again, number of verses, 2 or 3 times is the same, like second word, Janasangasthalolyam. Janasangha means is giving up the association of worldly people, and Atyahar Prayasascha Rajal Bodhiyamagraha. Like that, Janasangashalolyam Sadpi Bhakti Vinashati. So that's what can destroy bhakti. One of those is again Janasanga, taking people in general. And that association could be even personal, or sometimes it could be digital, WhatsApp, Facebook, this and that. It's so many different weapons of distraction. They're quite dangerous. And even the third was also nectar instruction says the same thing. Sangatyagat. Sangatyagat Satovritte. Satyaga means again giving up the association of, abandoning the association of non-devotees. So that's just very critical for us. So for us, living in seclusion is actually just that, avoiding the association of non-devotees and aspiring or trying to be always with the devotees, and then we are absorbed in the Krishna Katha. Then the purification, the shuchi, the place will be there because we are with the devotees. The mind will happen, and so the subtle cleanliness also takes place in the association of devotees and discussing the pastimes of Krishna and Srimad Bhagavatam. So on that note, maybe we can switch to the second part of this. Is any questions or discussions or comments or corrections, please?
Hare Krishna, Shyam, Hare Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Palika Mataji.
I just remember, when Deeti was asked to do follow that or whatever she was going to achieve. At that time, the mistake I made, as I read, that was just after having her prasad, she didn't wash the feet. I think that was the mistake she made, and that's how Indra sort of came in, and that she pointed out that was the mistake she made. It wasn't mouth and hand, it was just the feet she didn't wash. as far as I can remember in the Bhagavatam. Is that correct?
Prabhuji, you're muted, I think.
Sorry. Yes, Mata, yes, thank you. So no, maybe I can put it up. I remember exactly. Just as I was speaking, I remember that last time. Yeah, because I'm just probably going to share it easier. Yeah, so here it is. I think you can read this. It's very interesting. There are some instructions there. I don't know whether we can all use those instructions or we can at least go through them. Yeah, it says, Kashyapa Muni said, my dear gentle wife, if you follow my instructions regarding this vow for at least 1 year, you'll surely get a son who will be able to kill Indra. However, if you deviate from this vow of following the Vaishnava principles, you'll get a son who will be favorable to Indra. Diti replied, my dear Brahman, maybe someone can read? It's a lot actually, don't have enough time. Yeah, here it says, having grown weak and thin because of strictly following the principles, Diti once unfortunately neglected to wash her mouth, hands, and feet, everything, after eating and went to sleep during the evening twilight.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for
Everything. Yeah, maybe I can read in our free time. So that's interesting. Anyway, for us, our instruction is to just go to bed clean, and obviously we read Krishna book. It is recommended we read Krishna book before we go to sleep, and then when we get up in the morning, it's easier to have the right thoughts in the mind to rest. Okay, thank you, Mataji. Anything else? Or any other point that you think that could have discussed in that verse? Okay, so maybe we can just end here then. Thank you so much, everyone, for your tolerance and patience. And we can finish here. Have a great Saturday, Sunday again, and more nectar coming up tomorrow and day after. Grantharashimad Bhagavad Puran ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Patrubyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.
Kishori Mataji ki jai.
Hey, very
Krishna,
nice.
Prabhu. Thank you.
Very
Thank you,
nice class,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Member wishes.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.